Yeah, there's a lot of cameras. So hello, everybody. Maranda Dziekonski. I know so many of you here already, so many familiar faces. Nice to see you all. I want to give a quick personal shout out before I hop into business stuff. Who here likes to hike? Okay, I am starting a customer success and hiking meetup group. If you are interested, please message me. I'm going to do one hike a month in the Bay Area on a Saturday or Sunday, just with customer success professionals. It started because people see me posting on LinkedIn on the weekends. I share personal things on the weekends of me hiking. But just wanted to give that quick shout out for those that would like to join. And you don't have to be a fitness rock star to do it. I am terribly out of shape, so we'll be doing probably 3-mile hikes with some elevation gain.
What's the difference between CS hike and account management hike? No, sorry.
We won't sell anything to anyone that we meet on the trail. Awesome. So I want to do this a little informal, such a small group here, so I want to make it a little bit more of a conversation. But how many here, before we get started, I'll skip ahead a couple slides, how many here are currently using AI every day? Okay, look around, keep your hands up. How many here are using it more than 10 times a day? Multiple times every hour. Okay, hands starting to go down. Okay, so pretty good. What are you using it for? Just a few people shout out. What are you using it for? Note-taking. Research. Drafting emails. Building product. Holy smokes, that's awesome. Okay.
Thought partner. Sometimes
Thought partner.
ask questions or scenarios and role play.
Yeah.
How about nothing useful?
Nothing useful. I know. I upload images of myself all the time and say, make me look like a cartoon, make me look like a superhero, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Except I have like 8 fingers. But so I tried to use AI to help me create this presentation, and quite frankly, I just wasn't impressed. It did a great job of putting together some outlines and summaries that I did use a lot of, but overall, I thought it was a bit of garbage. And it probably was my inputs more than the output, quite frankly. I think that's where I'm a little rusty, is figuring out the right inputs to put in to get the outputs. I understand what I want for my end state, but to explain a machine to do that for me, I find it to be a little bit difficult. And I'm also finding that AI says things so confidently to me. Like it's just, this is the definitive answer. And it's wrong. And I call it on its shenanigans all the time. It's a lot of implied information that it's taking and making it into factual. Well, today we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of AI. We are at the early phases of what I think is probably the biggest technological change in our probably professional careers. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek because I started my professional career in the late 1990s. I've been doing this for 25 years now, 26-ish. And yeah, I've seen a lot of changes, as I'm sure many of you have, and I think the biggest changes are yet to come, and I think they're going to be heavily centered around AI. So I want to warn you all, there's some really heavy text slides coming. So I just put a lot of memes on, just because, who wants to sit and look at a bunch of text-heavy slides? So yeah, we're going to go ahead and hop into it. And I really want to ask folks to please, ask questions as we go along, hop in. If you see something that you're like, Miranda, that doesn't make sense, let me know. We're all learning this together. I would go out on a limb to say I am probably not the most sophisticated user of AI in this room. So just as much as I'm here to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly, I want to make sure that we're all learning from each other as well. Fair? Cool. All right, I already did the survey. I skipped ahead, so. All right, So going to have a couple slides on the good, some of the things. Hopefully you all walk away with some action items or ideas of ways you could use AI that you're not currently using. And these are some of the ways that I'm actually using AI, and also some of the ways that I've seen others in tech use AI as I do some advisory work as well on the occasion. So I'm just going to pick a couple and talk to them out of real life examples or from real life examples. First one I want to pick is customizing account plans based on customer behavior. Was that me beeping or someone else? Did your camera just shut off? No. Okay, sorry. I'll keep talking. I wanted to make sure there's so many cameras. I didn't want anything to get ruined. Customize account plans based on customer behavior and industry data. This is something I've actually been doing for a few years now. So ChatGPT became widely available, what was it, 3 years ago-ish? Is it 4 years-ish, right? And it keeps getting better and better and better. If you work for a company that supports any customer bases that have to report out publicly their earnings or anything like that, what I like to do is take the publicly available earnings statements, upload it along with the annual plans that they make available to their shareholders, along with examples of account plans that I've already created, and ask for it to give me an account plan for a customer success manager that has goals of net retention of 115%, gross of 90, plus, and put it in and have it give me an account plan, and it is just brilliant. Of course, you have to double check everything because AI does come across, again, as incredibly confident in everything that it says to you, even when it probably shouldn't. But that is a real life example of those proactive insights. These earnings statements sometimes are, a book. And to be able to put that in a tool that can then pick out what you need to know as a CS leader is absolute gold. The next thing I want to call out is upsell and cross-sell signals. That's another great way to use. One of the things that I always have my team heavily focused on are value cycles. So collecting goals, understanding, what are the next set of goals, building a maturity matrix to kind of help the customer success manager and the customer have that visibility in here's where I am, this is where I'll be next, and this is where I can go. You can leverage AI along with any data that you have, and we'll go into dangers of uploading data in a minute, but any data you have that you can upload into AI to really create cross-sell and upsell signals. Who here has done that? Okay, not many hands. Play with it. Play with it. I was just having this conversation with my husband. He has worked at BP Oil for 25 years. And he doesn't, he's on this team where he gets to play around with AI a little bit. I was talking to him about anonymizing data in a way that you can still make it usable, but make it safe to put in the system. So assigning, instead of Bob Smith at this customer, it's like customer A, number 1, customer B, number 2. And then when you bring it out of this tool, you can marry it together and still get the same insights. Any comments or questions? Yes?
How do you make the AI understand what you want, what your organization's goals are for your clients?
Yeah. How do you make the AI understand what your goals, your organization's goals are for the client? I am not perfect at this, to be clear, but making sure you're very explicit about your retention goals, your growth goals, what your company does. I always say I am a customer success manager at company blah, and then what AI will tend to do is go out and scrub everything that's publicly available about your company and marry it with your growth and revenue targets. Does that help? Yeah, it's I don't know how the sausage is made. All I know is it works pretty well. Yes. Hello.
You asked this about AI adoption in your teams and other CSMs. Is this representative? Like, what do you see as the biggest blocker? Are people scared about using AI?
Yeah.
Or is it
We have that in here in the presentation. I couldn't have planted you better in the audience. There's definitely a lot of trepidation around using AI still, and I think it has a lot to do with, one, fear of the unknown, fear of change, and also, what is this going to do to my job? I see that a lot. People are really afraid that this is going to displace them as an employee, and let's be real, and I know this will be publicly shared, it probably will. I mean, anytime you gain efficiencies, you will need less humans to do said thing. However, I want my customer success teams and customer success managers doing things that require critical thinking, not things that I can have a robot do. And it's been that way for years for me. Yes?
Sorry, just out of curiosity, which AI platform do you like to use the most and why?
Yeah. So the platform that I like to use the most isn't anything wild and crazy. It's actually ChatGPT. You can customize and build your own GPTs. There's so much you can do with it. Anyone of any level of skill. So it doesn't require you to have an engineer to go in and set it up. I think it's easier to use, quite frankly, than Salesforce.
That's a high bar.
I'm just saying. I know you're hoping probably for some kind of miraculous tool, but I find I spend the majority of my time in ChatGPT. Anybody else here spend the majority of their time in ChatGPT? You prefer what? Grok.
I use Claude in the MCP now, as a desktop version, and that's pretty strong in itself too.
It's all contextual.
Yeah,
AI
yeah,
is
that's
very,
right.
very good at certain things. Cloud is.
So I find a lot of the CSMs on my team, especially on the scale team, spend a lot of time in perplexity.
Perplexity.
Yeah, being able to scrape and pull all the data they need, because we know they have 50, 100 plus accounts. Taking 5 minutes to scrape that and then go into those conversations.
I'm in a bit of a lockdown environment, just given the nature of what we do as an organization, so I don't have the ability to freely use lots of different tools. So I find that
But there are now intermediaries that can use all of them, depending on what you're trying to do. They go across all of the LLMs.
yes,
LLM has become ubiquitous. Prompt engineering, de-emphasized because a lot of
that's a really good call out.
expert at prompts. Now it's you just need to figure out what entryway to get the most optimal result.
That's a really good call out. The next little point I want to make is just on the good intelligent personalization. Who here said they use this to write emails? I have not found yet that I can completely send an email out that AI has written for me and make it sound like me, but it's actually getting better. AI is now learning my tone, learning my voice, learning how I talk, popping a couple, grammatical errors in there for me. But I will tell you, it is a time saver because we're not having to start from scratch like we used to. And it's getting better and better and better every day. I don't know if that's the bad or the ugly, but for right now, it's definitely the good. Let's hop into the bad. I talked about this a little bit. You saw a couple of my slides earlier where I gave AI feedback, letting it know that this wasn't its best work. Also gave feedback that it was making assumptions in a very confident manner on data that wasn't correct, or not even correct, but it was making some assumptions based on a few data points. So a few false positives. I have seen AI give a customer green, and it actually wasn't green. It was a false positive. So an executive sponsor had let us know that they were leaving, and AI still had it at green because all the other inputs showed green. So that human touch is still needed in so many places. AI doesn't pick up on sarcasm, frustration, masked and polite language, and subtle warning signs. It's not human quite yet. So it does not pick up on sarcasm. It doesn't pick up on that human emotion component. So still, it can give us false positives. Also, I have seen AI take, Gong recordings, and we do use Gong AI, note taker, and all of that stuff, and not surface missed opportunities because, again, it's not understanding the human nuance. Has anybody here experienced this? Quite a few hands, yeah.
Another thing that I've observed is that if you aren't giving it enough instructions to say, here's the company, here's the domain, here's all of those things, if you do all of those things, the output is much better.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. We have to get very good about what this meme says it right. We have to be very crisp and clear about the instructions and what we're telling it to do, or else we have to expect garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, one more thing I'll add there is if you do too many, like I've had like 20 questions or whatever, and at that point, because AI does not have a lot of memory, it would start, like ChatGPT will hallucinate or like give me something suddenly weird out of the blue in the conversation, and then I have to go back and say, hey, we were discussing this.
Absolutely, it forgets what the original input was.
Quick question.
Yes,
What are you using to measure customer health?
Tatango. Yes. We could take that question offline too. If you're wondering how what I had just said kind of correlates to Tatango, we can take that one offline.
That was where I was going with that.
Yep, I figured. This is the one thing that I am the most fearful of, and I'll just talk about the headline: erosion of critical thinking. I even feel it in myself when I'm writing something or I'm thinking my way through something. I'm starting to feel my dependence on AI to where I'm like, oh, I wonder what AI would do. I wonder what AI would say. I wasn't like that 6 months ago. So I'm incredibly curious what's going to happen in another 6 months to a year as AI just continues to learn more and get better and better. And I'm very concerned, especially for entry-level CSMs who are managing B2B enterprise relationships that are incredibly complicated, multi-threaded, where critical thinking is core to success. So this is just something that I am worried about when AI kicks in and is doing all the thinking for our CSMs. What's going to happen to that critical thinking muscle? Will we lose it? How do we help our teams not lose it? And how do we motivate them to not lean on AI so much that they forget how to do the core human things? The next thing I want to call out, and I'm worried about too, is things becoming cookie cutter too much. There is some greatness in having things be a bit cookie cutter because it helps us with efficiencies. And it also helps not have a disparate experience across your product or your services. But there is a time, especially if you're in B2B enterprise, high touch, that cookie cutter sometimes just doesn't cut it. Sometimes you have to get in there and really cater to your customer. And I want to make sure too, and I'm seeing this already happen with AI, that things are just becoming a little bit more cookie cutter. The last thing, who here gets hundreds of messages a week on LinkedIn from, it's AI driven, probably bots, and the messages are just so out of touch. Now that's been going on for years, but it's now amplified. Again, we're losing that human touch, that critical thinking, and that to me is a bad output. Yes?
Do you have a framework of what can be cookie cuttered and what shouldn't be?
Do I have a framework for what can be cookie cutter and what shouldn't be? I haven't created one yet. I probably should. For me, automating a support response to help somebody reset their password, we've been doing that for years. That's not a problem. If you have an account that's paying you, let's say $10 million a year, and you have 6 contacts that you have to work with there, if there are problem statements that you're working on with each of the 6 contacts and you have follow-ups, having AI help write that, fine. But there has to be, I think, some kind of personalization because the stakes are higher. So it's the difference of, it's the same old mindset of what can we automate and be okay without losing that personal touch? And is the personal touch necessary for a customer to be successful in our product? Anybody who's heard me talk before has heard me say, what is the minimum experience needed in order for a customer to achieve their outcomes within our product or service? That's what I back into, the minimum. And then I build on from there. Not everything needs to be white glove, but not everything can be AI. And it's up to you in your organizations to figure out where that balance is. I don't know, did that answer the question? I don't know how much time I have left, so I'm gonna keep rocking. I shared an example of this already. The bad, false sense of objectivity. For some reason, AI just does hands terribly, right? But they're very confident. AI is very confident when it gives you the image of the hands. Like, here you go, here's some people shaking hands. But I just want to call out, and we should all be training our teams on this. While AI can come across incredibly confident when it gives you your output, you have to question it. You have to look at it through a lens of, is this correct? Ask AI. I challenge AI all the time. Give me your source. Why did you say this? Where did this come from? Point to me in the earnings statement exactly where you found this statistic. And sometimes AI will come back, as you saw in the earlier slide, and say, you're right. I didn't see this exact number. I am implying this based on ABC, XYZ. We have to train our teams to do this. I also have seen, and myself included, executives making strategic calls on those flawed metrics. So it's not just our team members, it's us. We have got to get better about challenging what we're seeing come out of AI. Now, will that always be the case? Probably not. I would imagine 6 months to a year, it's going to be a very different story, because as the gentleman in the back called out, all these LLMs are learning from each other, and they're just getting better and better and better. All right, who here asked me about internal resistance? Somebody did, yes. This is the slide where I think that, this is going to be our biggest barrier to the success of AI. And quite frankly, this is going to be our biggest barrier to success as leaders. Our boards are going to expect that we're adopting AI. When we're putting our budgets together, I'm going to imagine this next year when we put our hiring budget together for 2026, there's going to be questions around how much AI is being incorporated into our organizations and what kind of efficiencies are we getting out of it. In order to do that, we have got to help with change management, period, in our organizations. Team members do not like change to happen to them. They want to be a part of the change. So we have to figure out how to bring them along, how to make sure that they understand what does this mean for them, the longevity of their role. And quite frankly, we have to center this around, this is just the state of where we're going, and we have to get on the train and be part of it, or opt to do something else where AI is not going to be involved. But AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And it's our jobs as leaders to bring our teams along, not just for our organization, but to help them with their career and to be able to be marketable in the economy, not only in our organizations, but wherever they may land next. Any questions on this? Yes.
How do you manage the fear piece?
I mean, how you manage any fear piece, right? It's going to depend on the individual. It's going to depend on the company. It's going to depend on what motivates them, these individuals. For me, I prefer just tackling it head on and letting them know, like, yes, we are going to get some efficiency gains. Yes, in the future, we're probably going to hire less individuals because of these efficiency gains. However, we are going to figure out how to make sure all the things that require critical thinking are still coming to you. All that garbage that you can't stand to touch, we're going to figure out a way to have AI be your assistant and take care of that for you. right? So you got to figure out the language that's right for the human that you're speaking with, but be honest and upfront. I see some folks out there saying this isn't going to impact staffing. You're laughing because you've heard it. That is, I'm sorry, BS. I'm calling BS on it. It already is. It's, you know, we're seeing it in engineering areas now, in organizations. I won't name the company, but there is a company that's very well known here in Silicon Valley that just did a massive layoff to free up budget to focus on AI. It's present where we are. So it's hard to tackle fear without understanding motivation and just being straightforward and head on about it. Yes?
I think there's a flip side to it, right? It's not fear really. I think there's a culling of middle management. So it's more around, you know, what's your adaptability? Because tons of people are using Gen AI. They won't admit to it. But the middle management is the one that's the gap between what executive management wants and what the upcoming workforce wants. And there's a culling of that, and that's where the resistance is coming from. So you got to be honest. It's not the people who are trying to like bring in the change because they grew up with it. It's
Yeah.
the people who are stuck in the middle saying, I don't want to go up, neither can I go down, so I'm stuck here trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to throw impediments, and that's been always the case, whether it was social, mobile, internet, or anything that came along.
Absolutely. I
And
remember.
that's where the culling is happening, and those are the people who are afraid.
I agree. I remember when I had a fax machine in my office. I used to get faxes, everyone. Can you believe it? I still know my phone number, my fax number. Well, I actually worked at Hello Sign, which we had Hello Fax, right? But I had a physical fax machine that used to sit in my office, and getting the customers to stop faxing me the things that they needed and email me the things that they needed was a huge barrier, but eventually everybody came along. And did we find some efficiencies from that? Sure, I'm sure we did. Did we have less people because we switched from physically taking paper to places to emailing? I'm sure. I haven't done the study, but it's the same idea, though, of where we're going.
Big organizations have to think about being flat, and new organizations just don't need to be big at all. There's companies out there with 10 people that are making millions in revenue.
Yeah,
Just don't need it.
yeah, that's a good call out.
That they didn't grow up with having 1,000 people trying to figure out how to cull that down.
Yep, I totally get it. I may be at a larger organization right now, but I specialize in Series A and Series B, so absolutely. The one last thing that I'm going to call out, I think I have two more on ugly, is privacy and compliance. This is real. This is absolutely a real concern. When you're putting your data into an AI model, you have to assume that the data is being used to train the AI model. Now, I know ChatGPT, OpenAI, they tell us if you pay for the enterprise version, it's not being trained. I would love to believe that because that's what they're saying. But I'm just saying we should be careful and mindful that the data we put in is probably being trained, is probably publicly available somehow after we put it in there. One of the things that I love where I'm currently at, they did, is there is a whole compliance training that everybody has to go through before they get access to any AI tools, period. Talking about all of the risk, talking about best practices, expected behaviors, all of that. You have to go through that and take a test before you get access and get your certification. I highly suggest people do that. I also suggest leaders that we put up guardrails for our team around what they should and shouldn't use AI for. And if they are opting to use AI, give them a standard operating procedure. You could have AI help you write the standard operating procedure of how you should be scrubbing your outputs. I highly suggest you do that. This is the last one, and then I'll give you some takeaways. Right now, it feels like we're drinking water from a fire hose. There are so many tools out there. There are so many options. There's bound to be a consolidation, quite frankly. I don't know when, but I would imagine that there's going to be a consolidation, just like there was in the CS space and probably will be more in the CS space with the CS tools. So just make sure you're super mindful as you would be with any tool that you bring in. You're doing your due diligence, you're understanding what problem statements you're solving for. You're not just bringing it in because you feel the pressure to bring it in. Like, you truly understand what you're trying to solve for with this, because too many tools can become a distraction. And also, just remember, there's not a ton of social proof out there with a lot of these tools. Try to find social proof before you bring in a tool, because some of these tools are seriously legit and some is little smoke and mirrors, I will just say. Any questions on that before we move into some takeaways? Yes?
How long does it take your team, or in your experience, people or organizations to realize that, hey, this is actually smoke and mirrors, and are they stuck for a whole year, or can they just like...
Depends on the contract. But I mean, as with any tool, and I think many of us have experienced this before, you're sold the dream. As CS professionals, I would be quite surprised if some of you haven't experienced this, where the dream is sold, but then you're like, wait, our tool doesn't do that. It's the same thing with AI, right? And it depends on your contract. If you've signed for a year and you have no term for convenience in your contract, guess what, baby? You bought that for a year. There's probably an out, maybe, but usually you've bought it for a year. So I guess maybe if a takeaway here is make sure you can negotiate in a term for convenience. I don't know. But it's the same with any tool. People get a little glossy-eyed and starry-eyed about all these cool tools that are available. You have to be very level-headed about it and approach it as if you were purchasing any other tool. Like, do your due diligence, look at your budget, understand what it's going to cost over time, because some of these models as well, the more you use it, the more you pay, and you could have a major sticker shock. So it's just really important to be mindful. Yes?
Do you imagine, more and more of purpose-built niche tools, or more of the broader best of breed, not best of breed, but more, I'll do everything kind of tools emerging out of this?
Right now, I see so many purpose-built tools. I think, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing. Loads of purpose-built tools. And, I moved here 15 years ago, so I can't speak to the dot-com era, but I imagine it's probably reminiscent to that, where everybody's trying to get in. But I don't know, I can't foresee or predict where the future will go, but I think there has to be some kind of come to Jesus where we'll see less purpose-built and maybe more that can solve for multiple problems. Quite frankly, it's like Salesforce, HubSpot, Gainsight, like they all solve for so many things, right? And they work well together. I think we'll start seeing a lot of these tools figure out how to play well with the tools that we use every day, and those are the ones that'll win. Yes?
So how do you measure the efficiency gain? So let's say workforce reduction is not your objective, right? Let's say you want to do more with whatever number of people you have.
Yeah.
Then how do you say that it is 30% versus 50%? Let's say I have some data right now. If I apply AI to it, then maybe I will gain something. But how do you quantify it?
This is like something that I nerd out about a lot, and not just with AI, but with tools in general. So one of the things that I always do with my teams is I run what's called a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly exercise. I ask them to keep a Google Sheet or a doc open and keep track of everything you do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Now, let's assign some times to approximately how much time it takes every time you have to do said activity. Approximately how many times a week do you do it? How many times a day? Then you come up with like minutes assigned to each of these activities. It doesn't have to be a perfect science. Now you peel off, we'll have AI do this, 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 boom. There's your mathematical equation. Take the salary, add 30%. For benefits, 30% if you're on site for benefits. If you're remote, 20%. And you have your average savings. It's not perfect, but it's a good number to start with.
And then how do you add the accuracy part there? Like, let's say there is an efficiency gain, but then there is a doubt, right, whether the data is accurate or not. And now you have to validate the output. So your efficiency is not really what you expected in the beginning, right? But maybe it's lower because there is a cross-checking
You mean like this?
Yeah.
Yeah? I found this online and I thought this was brilliant. The reality is anything with efficiency gains, it's going to be a range, not a definitive.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question, but it's always going to be a range, not a definitive. Like, we saved, 50 hours a week. That's 1.1 person, right? It depends on, one, I always do a range. Two, it depends on what your board cares about, how you want to talk about it. And then I think, can you repeat the part of your question the most?
My question was, you mentioned about like some of the things where AI is giving you confidently wrong answers.
Yeah.
So you have to go and verify that, right? So it's really not, you can't just go and use that email draft, whatever AI recommended, right? But rather, now you may have to spend more time just to edit it, right?
I think the activities, let's pretend you have your list of daily, weekly, monthly. I would also put a high, medium, low risk assignment to it. If it's low risk, this is how much you'll check your AI outputs. If it's medium, this is how much. If it's high, this is how much. And then now you can marry those two data points and understand, like, this will be a really big win for us if we can get to a place where we confidently feel AI can do it, but it's high risk. But low risk requires little check. We can peel off all of those immediately, have AI solve them because it's low risk, and then we'll save X amount of hours or X amount of dollars or X amount of human power, right? Does that help?
Yeah.
But I think what you're highlighting is mapping the customer journey is the key point, right? What's your customer journey? What's your internal
Exactly.
journey? Not map your journey. Even before that, what is the problem that you're trying to solve for? What's your journey? What does it look like? Where are your key pain points? Because the pain point that you might be experiencing might be different from what she's experiencing within her organization. So automating things should be only relevant to what your pain points are.
Yes, well said. All right, last 9 to-dos. Just going to call them out here. Again, another text-heavy slide. Garbage in, garbage out. Just remember, whatever you put in that tool, in that AI tool, if you're putting garbage in and if you're not really succinct about what you're asking it for, you're gonna probably have problems with the outputs. I'll just say, I've experienced it personally multiple times. That should say use AI, not US AI, but US AI. Yeah, no, it was me, unfortunately. I can't blame it on ChatGPT. Use AI to augment, not replace, right? Eventually, again, high, medium, low risk, look at the activities your teams are doing. Eventually, there will be activities that you can completely just peel off and not have to have your team ever touch again. I'm personally not there yet. I know a lot of folks aren't there yet, but we will get there. But what's more important now is it's augment, not replace. Establish firm guardrails. I already spoke on this, just reiterating it. Don't just set your teams loose and free and tell them to go. Have it be a part of your weekly team meetings where you have a spotlight with how you're using AI. How did you use AI this week? What are some of the cool things that you like? But also have those guardrails in place and help folks understand what they should and should not be doing. Number 4 is pretty self-explanatory. Train folks, just like you're having them go in and ask probing questions of your customers to surface more problem statements to help with more expansion use cases. Have them question AI as well. It's not always right? So we shouldn't be worshiping it. Already called out QAing your outputs. And I just said like you would a fresh team member just learning, because guess what? AI, it's a fresh team member. It's just learning. Transparency has to be key. If your CSMs or you as a leader cannot explain the metric you have on the slide that you got from AI, you're failing already, right? That means that you have lost that critical thinking component. You should always be able to understand how the decision that you're putting in front of a customer or your team or your board or your leadership, how that number was, created. What were the inputs? What were the levers? So that is really, really important. Treat your AI security and compliance like a first-class citizen. I don't want any of us to become a news article in 10 years. So I know it's hard to think that far out, but it is 100% a possibility. So just make sure you're being incredibly mindful. I don't want to see Bob Smith accidentally uploaded all the employee PII into the system and now it's, out there forever. Start small, experiment often, measure everything. Lastly, do something. If you're not doing something already, if your teams aren't doing something, do something. You do not want to get left behind. And I already had you all ask me questions throughout, but yes?
What are some of the popular use cases you're having your teams use AI for?
We have one gentleman on our team who is actually part of our value realization team. He's a VP of value realization, which is kind of a cool job, right? He is doing all kinds of really cool things with ChatGPT, building out custom GPTs around business value. So all we have to do is plug in certain numbers into a template and it creates ROI outputs. Isn't that cool? I find it very fascinating.
So basically replacing tableaus and the Excel sheets of the G sheets of the world.
I'm sorry?
Basically replacing the tableaus of the world or the G sheets of the world.
I don't know if it's replacing, I've not seen Tableau do a really great job of giving you ROI metrics that you can now put into your business review slides. Tableau is definitely a very powerful BI tool. I wouldn't say it's replacing it though.
But you're talking about actually
Actual ROI that you can take in and use. Exactly.
That's actually impressive.
Yes, sir.
So how do you plan on, or do you have a plan to re-educate your team on how to ask proper questions to ChatGPT and other tools? I feel like that's one of the things where it's, to your point, garbage in, garbage out. There's not a large sample size of individuals who are great at asking the prompts that they need to get what they want. So it's just the standard, I uploaded this file, give me what the top metrics are.
Yeah.
And so it goes to that efficiency piece. If we're not teaching them how to properly ask these questions, are we actually getting that efficiency or not? So do you have a plan to, or have you thought about that?
Yeah, I've thought about it. And one of the things that I've done, I did at a previous organization, I'm a huge fan of Notion. And Notion, I created an area with probing questions by persona that we would serve to be able to take in and ask when you're in your business reviews or your regular cadence calls. Having something similar to that, to the core use cases that you're using ChatGPT for. So if you know that your team is going to use ChatGPT for these 10 core use cases, just create some probing questions with them. Again, instead of having change happen to you, have them be a part of the change. Put a brainstorm on. Okay, so we've identified these 10 use cases that we can use for our AI tool, whatever that AI tool is. Let's talk about some probing questions that we can ask back to the tool when it gives us the information to make sure that information is correct. And then document it and just, tell them to always have it up and ready. And if it's a collaborative document, again, part of the change, if you find another use case that you think everybody would benefit, add it. And then if you find there are different probing questions that surfaced different, responses, let's add that too. And eventually y'all just get better and smarter together. Any other question? Oh, yep, Aaron.
Will you be back to speak to this community again?
Will I be back to speak to this community again? Can we talk about something more fun than AI? Sorry.
Health scores.
Health scores, yeah. Or, I'm a former HR person too. We could do anything, the intersection of customer success and people. How about that? Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Oh, I forgot. A picture. We're all supposed to do a picture.